My story will be much less of a deep cut from other cultures. Instead, I decided to choose a classic, Bigfoot, aka Ben, as well as Sasquatch. He's a very famous and well-known cryptid, being spread across many myths and legends within communities. He inhabits heavily forested areas in North America, with many people claiming to have seen him in the shadows, such as here in Hickory. That story even gained attention of a cryptid hunting show that was on the History Channel. Sightings of a giant wild man who lives in the woods dates back all the way to the 1800s, but the first ever documented report of Bigfoot would be in a 1958 newspaper article in the Humboldt Times about a strangely big and strangely human footprint that loggers had found in Northern California. What had intended to be a goofy Sunday morning romp captivated readers of the Humboldt Times that the newspaper just had to make a follow-up. From there, newspapers around the country would pick up the story of the hairy, 7-foot-tall forest man imbued with magic. Bigfoot has been a lot of things throughout pop culture. In the 60s, he was a primal monster who lived in the wilderness waiting for his next prey. But as the 70s introduced documentaries to the world, how the population would view Bigfoot would change. What was a primal man is now a modern-day monster that emphasizes the worst parts of humanity. But then, 20 years of being the monster, things would change for our friend Bigfoot. The 80s marked the rise of environmentalism, and what better mascot for preserving the forests and the world than Bigfoot? Movies like Harry and the Hendersons would now, instead depicting the Sasquatch as a monster, would depict him as an animal to be protected and to be cared for. Nowadays, the cryptid is all of these things, and more. For each monster Bigfoot movie, there's another goofy one trying to protect him. And for each one of those, there's another one trying to find him in real life. Now that we have gone through the history of Bigfoot, we can get into the fun part, the sightings. These things pop up every 6 months, make some noise, and then get debunked. This is the cycle of Bigfoot sightings, but that's not what this is about. This is where I'm going to list some of the most famous Bigfoot sightings that have popped up. So to start off, the Bigfoot Walk is probably the most famous Bigfoot video ever. Even if you don't know what I'm talking about, you've probably seen the infamous image of a hairy bipedal creature walking across a creek with arms swinging side to side. That video was taken by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin in 1967 in Northern California. The second sighting we will talk about is the Marble Mountain Bigfoot. This is the longest video evidence of Bigfoot out there. The video itself consists of a leader of a camping group filming their experience seeing Bigfoot. The 7-minute-long video starts off with the group looking at and studying a strange fort that they have found while camping. The hut is made out of torn-off trees and smoothed floor. But as the filmer is describing the structure, the rest of the group starts yelling that they can see him. And as the camera turns up, you can see on a distant hill a humanoid creature walking across. And then the next 5 minutes is footage of Bigfoot jumping around and shaking his fist at campers. It's pretty funny. That will be all for today. Goodbye and have a spooky Halloween.
La Llorona, or the Weeping One, one of if not the best known Hispanic horror stories. It's so popular that there have been over 10 movies made about La Llorona. The story itself is kinda goofy because there are different versions of the story such as Mexican, Guatemalan, and Venezuelan versions of La Llorona. There's even an American version. The Mexican version goes as, her husband left her for another woman. After he left her, she became so depressed that she drowned her kids because they reminded her of her ex-husband. When she killed both of them, she had realized what she had done, so she tried to look for them for months. When she died, her spirit came back to try and find her children, but she continuously searched for them. She hasn't been able to find them. It is said that you can still hear her saying, "Hey mis hijos," or "Oh my children," in Hispanic countries. Story 2. El Cucay. El Cucay is like the Hispanic version of the boogeyman. El Cucay is a ghost-like monster. There is also a female called Cuca, but they both do the same thing, making bad-behaving children disappear and then eat them. There's a rhyme, duermet niño, duermet ya, que viene el Cucay yte camera, or sleep child, sleep now, or the Cucay will eat you. So be good now or else el Cucay will go and get you. Story 3. Chupacabra. The chupacabra is a goat sucker, and by that I mean that it sucks the blood of cabras or goats. La Chupacabra was first said to be seen in March 1995 in Puerto Rico. It has been said to have been seen all the way down to Chile and somehow even in Russia and the Philippines. When it was first spotted in Puerto Rico, there were 8 goats, 3 with puncture wounds in the chest area and have been completely drained of their blood. So Miss Egg, watch your goat tonight or it might not be there in the morning.
Culture is an important part of people's daily lives, be it family culture, community culture, even cancel culture. But with culture comes stories, horror stories at that. Part of Hmong culture is shamanism. Many other cultures do it too. With the Hmong people, they hold rituals that supposedly reach to the other side, being death. One such story is of a girl named Larkin from upper Minnesota. Her family practiced Hmong shamanism and did those mentioned rituals. One ritual was one that was to ward off spirits that could follow a person back to their residence. Larkin's father forgot to do so, however. Larkin watched as her dad unpacked his luggage and saw one specific oddity, a black crow. She questioned her mother about the bird, but she said there was no bird. She was confused. Later that night, she slept in her parents' room. She woke up, looked around, and saw another girl. The girl seemed to be around 12 years old, standing by the window at the end of the room. Larkin went back to sleep though, not thinking much of it. Over the next week, Larkin's mother started to notice that Larkin was starting to draw a specific figure more often. The figure was dubbed Princess. She started drawing so much of Princess to a point where her parents got concerned for her. They called a shaman priest and set up a ritual. From there, he was able to communicate with the spirit. Once he was back into the real world, he asked Larkin about Princess. At first, she was reluctant to tell the shaman priest, but when asked once again, she started to tear up and then said, "Princess can't play anymore." She says she can't play anymore because she's dead.